Hey everybody, it's Lindsay. I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to talk to you about faith in real estate. It's really not a popular topic because real estate is so stringent. You got how much can you afford on paper? Let me see your check stubs. Let me see your W-2s. What's your credit like? Well, I have a real life story regarding faith in real estate. It's actually about me. So I got my license in April, and let's see, that was around July, I think, or June. I was sitting in my office and the Holy Spirit said, go on the MLS. That's the system that we use as realtors. It's the multiple listing service. It's like a better version of your realtor.com and all of those. We can see everything that's available. So anyway, he told me to go on the MLS, put everything in the search engine that I wanted. So he was like, put how many bathrooms, how many bedrooms. It was nothing that was like too much. He said, just put what you want. And I'm like, okay. So I was putting the bedrooms and the bathrooms. I wanted this. I wanted it to look like this. And I knew where I wanted it to be. And so, press search. The third property, I was like, oh, this is the one. Now, let me give you some backstory. I didn't have no money. My husband didn't have no money. I tried to sell my son. He didn't have no money. So, it's like, how are we going to afford? Anyway, I'll get back to that. So, found this house. Oh, I fell in love with it before I even started looking through the pictures. And then when I started looking through the pictures, I was like, whoa, yes, this is my house. So I called my husband. He was at work. I said, babe, I found a house. I said, let me know what you think about it. So I sent him the house. So he said, it's nice. I said, okay. You want me to call a lender and see if we can get pre-approved? And he was like, okay. So I called my lender and gave him all the information. He was like, okay, you're pre-approved for XYZ. I'm like, what?
Hey, all right.
It was in the price range of the house. Right. So I called my husband back and said, okay, we're pre-approved. He said, what? I said, we're pre-approved. My husband was like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now because we weren't looking to buy no house yet. So me having that crazy faith, I wrote up the contract. I'm like, well, I may as well just write this up before we see it anyway. And we made an appointment to go see it the following day because that was the earliest we can get in. Listen, we got to the house. I was like, oh, this is it. Do you know somebody was in my house showing my house? And so when they came out of the house, I was like, carry on. I already knew it was my house. I'm like, I hope you liked it. So we walked in. I was like, oh, this is my house. It had every single thing that we wanted. And it was in the neighborhood that we were looking for. So I'm like, okay, well, you want to put in an offer? My husband was like, this girl is crazy. I'm like, yeah. We put in the offer. Needless to say, here we are years later in that house. And when I tell you it was only God, we were working. We had really good jobs, you know, making really good income. But there's more than just that goes into it. I had been working on our credit the previous year, not even thinking about purchasing a house. We were just able to start paying debt off. And so it's amazing how God will line up things in your life before you even know about it. But it's very important, I would stress to people, it's very important when you are experiencing a time like this where you are walking in faith. It's important that you absolutely heard from God. What you don't want to do is try to move without him because it either won't work or it won't work to your advantage. You would be in a whole mess of things. So that's the advice I can offer. Always, always make sure you're hearing from God. And so I am just so grateful because he allowed me to experience something that was actually the first house that I sold too. My house. He allowed me to experience something that I would be able to express to other people. So when I have clients that they are worried, okay? They like, Lindsay, I don't have this, I don't have this. I say, hey, we purchased our house, but you just have to believe. You hear from God and you just believe, and you take the steps to do what it is that you need to do to follow through with it. So when I tell you guys that this process was something else, first of all, the person that lived in our house, that wasn't paying a mortgage, a rent, or nothing, he wouldn't get out. He said, right, he didn't know where to live. I'm sorry, what? Didn't you know we were, you were selling the house? Anyway, about him. So there came up some challenges with the negotiation. We had negotiated the price, but the Lord told me, you're only going to pay this much. Now, this much was $30,000 less than what the house was on the market for this time. It had been on the market for quite some time, so, they just had to keep dropping the price. When I first told them that price, it was almost like they laughed at me.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
They said no. I was like, okay. So we put it under contract for the price that we put it under contract for. And then we started going through the process. Well, here comes the appraisal. Guess what the appraisal said? The exact dollar amount that the Lord told me that I was going to pay for the house. So I laughed. I was like, I told you. These people wanted us to pay more than what the house was worth. Absolutely not. I even tell my clients, don't pay a penny over what the house is worth. Why would you go into a property already underwater? It got to the point where they claimed that the seller was broke and, didn't have the funds to bring to closing because the price wasn't going to cover the mortgage. And I was like, I don't care. And so my managing broker at the time and my lender, they tried to talk me and my husband out of getting this house. They said, well, why don't you, look at some other houses in the neighborhood and maybe you should do this. I was like, no. So my husband, for S&Gs, he was like, well, I'll just go look. And he clicking around. He was like, there's nothing out here that's like our house. And so I decided we were going to keep believing because this is what God told me. We closed. Now, let's just say it was a miracle. The day after we were cleared to close on a Monday, and my husband was off work that day. The day after, he went to work and lost his job. So now we were like, well, actually, it wasn't we. It was him. I knew we were closing. And so he thought that would have messed up our chances, for purchasing a home. But God showed us favor. We were still able to close. But when I tell you that this was an absolute miracle, that's exactly what it was. So for those of you who are like me, we believe in God and we want the things that God has promised us that we will have. Just believe. Seek God, hear his voice, and believe what he's told you. Don't let people change your mind or talk you out of it. They nobody. God holds your whole life in his hands. And so if you're going to trust anybody in the process, trust him. If you liked my video, please subscribe. I like to talk more to you, share more stories. I promise not to preach. That's not my style. But I really appreciate it if you, comment in the section down there. Let me know what you're thinking. If this story, helped you, blessed you, if it gave you hope, because that's what it's all about. We really don't go through stuff for us. We really go through it for other people. I really, really appreciate you guys and all of your support. And I cannot wait to come back with another video. Talk to you soon.